Okay, everybody, we're about to start the accuplacer review number 1. Remember, you cannot use a calculator. We will have a quiz on Friday where will be a paper copy, and so if you use a calculator, I will know on Friday. Okay, so I'm going to go through 1 or 2 of each of these problems, and then you will complete the rest for either classwork or homework. Okay, so let's look at the first problem. So the first problem, they want us to add these decimals. When you're adding decimals, you have to line up the decimals. So I'm going to write it going up and down. So we do 2.75. Okay, I'm going to put my decimal here. I'll write the numbers after the decimal. And then I'm going to put a 0 in front here. And then with my top number, I'm going to add a 0 to kind of keep everything lined up. Okay, my next one is 0 point, so all my decimals line up 1.58. And now I'm going to add going up and down. So I do 8 plus 3, and I get 11. Keep the 1, carry that 1. I'm going to do the next column. So I got 5 plus 5. Plus 1. That makes 11 again. Keep the 1. Carry the 1. I'm going to do this column here. So 7 plus 1 is 8. Plus 1 more is 9. I'm going to bring down my decimal where it is. Okay. And then I'm going to do my last column. It's 2 plus 0 equals 2. So my answer should be 2.911. So when you're doing these, just make sure you line up the decimals. I'm going to start the next one to kind of get you going. So we got 10.1 plus 8.734. So to make it all match, I'm going to add zeros in here to kind of fill in. Okay. The next one is 7. So all my decimals are matching up, 0.19, and I'm going to add a 0 here, and then 6.41, so here's my 6.41, and I need to add some zeros just to make it even. So work this problem and the next one for classwork, okay? So now I'm going to the next problem. Okay, so we're multiplying decimals. So I'm going to work this last one here. So we got 0.652 times 25. So when you're multiplying, what you have to do is always line it up from the right-hand side. So it doesn't matter where the decimals are. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, when you're multiplying, we're going to multiply these first. So 5 times 2. And if you don't know these, remember you need to write out your multiples. 5 times 1, everybody should know, is 5. 5 times 2. That means you're going to add 5 more to your original answer. You get 10. And that's how you're going to have to do it if you don't know your multiplication tables. So we keep the 0, bring the 1 up here. Okay, next we're going to do 5 times 5. So remember, if you don't know your 5s, you need to write them out. 5 times 5 is 25, plus that 1 more here makes 26. So keep our 6, carry our 2. Okay, the next one will be 5 times 6, which is 30, plus 2 more makes 32. Okay? Now, the next step, when we're about to start another line, we always got to add a 0. So this is the first one we've had to add a 0, so we only add 1 0 to it. Okay? So I'm going to kind of undo my circles here. So I'm going to undo these because I don't need them anymore up there. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply everything by this 2. So the first one's 2 times 2, which is 4. The next one I'm going to do is 2 times 5, which is 10. So I keep the 0, carry the 1. The next one I multiply 2 by is a 6. So 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 more makes 13. Okay, now I'm going to add going straight down. 0 plus 0. 6 plus 4 makes 10. Keep the 0, carry the 1. 2 plus 1 makes 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. And then I bring down my 1. Okay, and so what we have to do now is count how many numbers are after the decimal. So we only had one number with decimal, so we had 1, 2, 3. So we come here and put our decimal 3 places here. So we always start from the right and count 3 places. 1, 2, 3. So our answer should be 16.300. And you're not going to see all those zeros. So 16.3. So that's your answer. So I want you to try the next ones. Remember to line them up on the right hand side. Okay? Here, we're having to convert these fractions into decimals. So, when you're doing these, I'm going to do this one here. So, we're basically looking at 3 divided by 4. So, we take this number and put it on the outside. So, 4 divided by 3. Okay? So, when we look here, and if you don't know your multiples of 4s, start with 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2. So you add 4 more to that. That makes 8. 4 times 3. Add 4 more to 8. Makes 12. 4 times 4. Add 4 more to 12. Makes 16. 4 times 5. You should get the hang of adding 4 more. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. So on and so on. Okay. So we look here. Will 4 go into 3 evenly? No. So what we have to add is a decimal here and a decimal here. And we're going to add a 0. So now we're looking at dividing 4 into 30. So if we look here on the little number chart I made, we see 28. That's the closest it will go. So we put 7 here, and we know 7 times 4 or 4 times 7 is 28. And then we're going to subtract. So we cannot take 8 from 0, so we have to borrow 1. When we borrow 1 from this 3, it makes it a 2. We make the 0 into a 10. So 8 from 10. So if I gave you, I had $10, I gave you $8. How many dollars do I have left? Well, I have 2. 2 from 2 is 0. Will 4 divide into 2 evenly? No. So we have to add another 0. And we're going to bring that 0 down. Now, will 4 divide into 20? Well, if we look here, 4 will go into 20 evenly 5 times. So my answer is 0.75. So that's how you're going to do all the other problems. Okay? So this first one here, it wants you to put, either you can pick which one is the smallest number, and I want you to put them like from biggest to smallest. So the easiest way to do this is you take your least amount of numbers. So you see this one has 3 numbers here, 3 numbers, 3 numbers. This one has 2. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a little line through the ones that have 3 basically. So I can look at it. And I'm going to think of this like money. I know money makes it a lot easier to see. So if I rewrite this, this is looking like 10 cents. This is looking like 50. This one's looking like 1 penny. This is looking like 15 cents. So now when I make them all even, like the same amount of numbers, and make it look like money, it kind of helps me to see which one is smaller. So this one here, 1 cent is obvious, the smallest. So if I did them in order, it'll be 1 cent. And then what will come next? Obviously, we have 10 cents. Okay. Then we have 15 cents. And then we have 50 cents. So try the rest of those. Okay. So number 5. It says all of the following are ways to write 25% of N. So whenever you're writing these words mean things. Of will always mean multiply. Okay? So that means, what are ways to write 25%? Well, if we come here, we can change 25% into a decimal. We change it into a decimal by dropping the percent and moving our decimal place 2 times to the left. So if there's no decimal, it's always at the right, and we move it over 2 places to the left. So 0.25 times N, so that's that one. So that one works. Okay. Now let's look at another way to change a percent. So if I want to change 25%, I can drop the percent and put it over 100. So 25 over 100. And remember, we're multiplying because of means to multiply. So that one checks off. Okay. And then the last way to change a percent is we actually have the 25 over 100 and we actually divide. So if I have 100 on the outside, 25 here. So write out your factors of 100, 100, 200. So 100 times 1 is 100. 100 times 2, 200, 300, and so on. Okay? So 100 will not go into 25. So what we're going to do, okay, and so we can check this one here. I'm sorry. 1 over 4. We can check and see if we get 25%. So what we do 4 divided by 1. Originally I was doing 25 over 100, but they already did this part for us. They want us to check and see if 1 over 4 is going to give us 25%. So I take 4 divided by 1. So we know 4 won't go into 1, so we got to add a decimal and a 0. 4 will divide into 10. So when we got 4, 8, 12, 16, whatever. So it will divide evenly 2 times. And it gives us an 8. We subtract that. So 8 will not subtract from 0. So I have to borrow 1 from the 0. 1, making it a 0. Make the 0 10. 10 subtract 8 is 2